Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blaise XPerience. You're joining us again for episode number 26 today. And today, as always on a Saturday, we are back to talk some more State of Decay 2. Today's topic is on facility mods. We've already went over the facilities that you can have in a previous podcast. Today's podcast is on the top 15 facility mods. So we're going to go over all the facility mods and kind of rank them at the end and tell you which ones are good, which ones are bad, and just kind of generally go over them. Real quick before we get into that though, I do have one quick note. I know this weekend that you're hearing this on, I am away for a little bit, but I want to let you know that the next week after this podcast, I will resume my regular streaming schedule, and on Tuesday and Friday, I will be back to streaming my 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern schedule, so I will do my 2 streams as normal on that week. But that being said, we do have a special guest today. So joining me today is a YouTuber who also talks about State of Decay 2, and I definitely, have a lot of respect for his knowledge of the game, and he definitely does some great videos on the game, and I would highly recommend you check out this channel because he just has a lot of knowledge, and he's someone that I think a lot of you will enjoy as well. So please welcome to the podcast, Mariss. How are you, Mariss?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. I definitely appreciate you being here, and I think, you're a good fit for this podcast because we get into a lot of detail here, and you do the same on your channel.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the kind words and support. I never knew this will happen, but yeah, now I'm on your podcast.
No, I definitely appreciate it. I mean, I've loved a lot of your videos, and I think you definitely know what you're talking about. So I think, the listeners here will appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. I hope I can bring something new or extra, because I see you doing a pretty good job yourself here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But for any listeners, do you want to tell them more about your YouTube channel? I told them a little bit. You cover State of Decay 2. Do you want to tell them a little more about that?
Yeah, sure. It started actually quite sudden. The reason why I actually started was in a work I watched the YouTube videos in the background, and I noticed a lot of information going around about the bases, which is the best, which is the worst, and something. And I got really in my nerves, and because I was not a fan of this fourth base, which actually is kind of cool. And I just one day I came back from work and just turned on my camera and recorded the video. And that's it. And I forgot about the video after a few days when I came back, and there was like all the internet was on me, and it was a bit crazy. I'm like, okay, what have you done? And the funny thing was, a lot of you guys, players, actually agreed with me that it was overrated, and other bases are as similar, like in the value, and so I had this small support from community, and that got me going, and that's how it started.
Yeah, it's definitely a great story there. I definitely remember checking out that video. I think you called it the real best base or something like that.
So you've seen it as well.
Oh, of course I have. No, it's definitely a great video though. I like how that actually started, like how you just didn't expect it. You're like, oh wow, all these people are commenting. So that's cool how it started like that.
Yeah, and actually advice for others, if you're thinking about, don't think, just go there. And for me personally, it was really mind-changing experience, because just brief notice, I've played a lot of my time also League of Legends, the game that is particularly known for really, really salty community. like everything is bad in there. Yeah, and then in YouTube I experienced like totally opposite. Like everyone is kind, everyone is supporting. It was like, wow, there's really nice people out there actually.
Yeah, that's really good too, because you don't always find that. I mean, some people get a lot of hate in the comments, so I'm glad that hasn't happened to you.
Weird, but yeah, let's hope it will continue like that.
Definitely. But you kind of said that like it was sort of a fluke then, that you just put this video out there because you wanted to let people know what you thought was the best base, and then you kind of went from there. Did you have like a sort of vision when you actually made your second video and kept going after that?
Good question. Actually, that's the reason why I got this awesome invite to your podcast as well. Is I play the game, and whenever I play it, I try to go through like in depth, like getting best tactics and knowledge and everything. And that was the first comments when I made this video, that guys noticed like probably maybe this guy knows some stuff. And the first video as well was bringing more knowledge into other players, other people, and that got me going for the next few episodes. And now it's already, I'm thinking and I'm going for the channel that will go through more of the games, not only State of Decay. So yeah,
definitely. I think you do a great job with the knowledge aspect, and that's kind of what I try to do here too. I try to talk about games in a way that's actually going to provide players with knowledge and help them out in future playthroughs.
Yeah, sure. It's really important because, funny as it sounds, there's a saying that you play for fun, not for winning. But well, if you are winning, that's partially already fun.
Right,
if
exactly.
You are doing great, and to do great, you need knowledge. You need to know what is best and what's the background. If there's some hidden stats or some more tips and tricks. So
yeah. And what I like about your channel too is, like, say the patch notes that just came out, the patch 3.0, a lot of YouTubers, what I've noticed is they'll take those patch, they'll tell you like, two little things about it and then call it the end of the video, and they don't really give you the actual knowledge of the patch. Like, I watched your version of the patch, which I think was like 25 minutes long, and you actually broke it down and you talked about, like a lot of the key points and how they affected the game. So I definitely appreciate that you actually take the time to give people info on it.
Yeah, sure. That's what we both are here for.
Agreed. And there's actually a couple things that I didn't even know myself until I watched some of your videos. You actually taught me about crossing the rivers with cars. I didn't know you could do that until I watched your video.
I'm embarrassed to actually tell you when I found it out. I think it was like third playthrough.
Yeah, that's why when I saw that in your video, I'm like, wait, really? You can cross the river with cars? Like, I didn't think you could cross it because I just never always avoided it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like quite logic. You see the river, you go over the bridge. That's
right,
simple as that.
Exactly. That's what I always did. So.
Glad I could help you too.
No, and the other tip that you actually mentioned that I thought was really cool was I never thought to block my doors with cars, and I know in one of your videos you blocked the door with the car and like the Juggernaut moved the car, and that was pretty cool actually.
Oh yeah, Juggernauts are a nightmare. If you have this night blockade, yes. They're just going for the first entrance, and everything in the ways is just smashed and crashed, and yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, like, that's what I think is cool about this, is because everyone has different perspectives, and, someone that's really experienced at the game could listen to me and learn things they didn't know about. And I had the same effect with you, where I'm pretty experienced at the game, but I listened to your, YouTube videos, and I actually found a couple of tips that I didn't know about. So I think that's what's nice. Everyone has their own tips that they can give each other.
Yeah, working together to actually finally understand this game from beginning to the end, because it's so enormous if you think now. Yeah,
and it's only going to get bigger too, because in September we have the new DLC coming. So,
which I actually find out only from you when you mentioned it. Then I had to look up like, what is he talking about? I missed something, and like, oh, that is coming up. So yeah, thank you for that as well.
No problem. Yeah, that's going to be a fun DLC. It's going to have a whole new mode and everything. So I can't wait till I see that.
Oh, great.
So I guess you won't be stopping State of Decay 2 anytime soon, will you?
Yeah, I have some games in my mind and already installed, and still this State of Decay still is bringing me back and dragging me in. Nice.
But you did talk about wanting to do other games to their channel. Do you want to tell people real quick what direction you see your channel going in the future, and some of the games you might be covering if they want to listen to those?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's long story short would be I will be playing everything. At least I will try. Currently, next step will be I'm getting We Happy Few. Game just released some moments ago, and
yeah, I was thinking about that one too. Do you recommend it?
Well, I had few hours only. I have there's no much of the knowledge I can bring, but I already wanted to make a video because I noticed one awesome thing. If you go in the settings and just browse around how it's structured, it really brings up the good old game called No One Lives Forever. It's insanely good game from the back, and I had like flashbacks from the time when I spent many hours in the No One Lives Forever game. And this game somehow in the settings, how it's structured when you're in the game, it's everything pulls back, and of course in the new better visual settings and everything. So I got a feeling this game will be awesome, and it's awesome.
That's kind of what I'm feeling too. I mean, I haven't actually played it yet, but it's definitely a game that intrigues me, and I think kind of goes along the same feel as State of Decay in some ways. So I'm kind of intrigued by that, and if the listeners want to let me know if you want me to cover that, then definitely let me know, and I'm already considering that as it is. But
yeah, sure. Two things I already noticed I somehow missed in the tutorial or something. The game has a crafting system, and the game has talent system, which I didn't know. So it is a bit deeper than just going around and chasing some other people or running away from them. But yeah, definitely.
and that's great because I love those RPG elements too. So that's nice that it has some element of that.
Yep. That got me exciting. Just one little note. I actually thought a little bit, how can I avoid this game? Because one only factor, despite the fact I'm playing zombie games and State of Decay, I kind of don't like horror like genre in general. Like when you get scared, I'm kind of not a big fan of horror movies or anything frightening. And this game, of course, in the first half an hour playthrough, it's already like built in that you will get scared. Like, thank you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the music for it. The music sounds really creepy at times. Like it's got some really creepy music to it.
Yep. Just I'm not proud of the moment, but I actually closed the game, like quit the game. Well, it was late night, but I came to the house where it was, when you come close to it, the creepy music starts playing. And I understand that. I never stepped in the house. I just turned off the game. It will be for another time.
Just come back to it during the daytime, right?
Yep, exactly.
No, I think that's definitely a good recommendation there, and I think that's a game that I'm looking into myself. I know one of the game, real quick, I saw you did a video on it, and I play at Xbox. I can't play this, but I saw you did a video on Raft, which looks like a really good game.
Yeah, it's good, but I would suggest to go give a couple more months developers to invest more in the game, more content and everything, because so far it's two days playthrough, and someone might find it a bit I don't know, let down the feeling or something. But yeah, it's pretty good. That's my suggestion was as well.
Yeah, I think it's at least unique because you're building a raft and you're out in the ocean, so it's a survival game where you're out in the ocean, which you don't really see a lot of. So I think it's at least unique in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. And just also mentioning, I think I will make a video also, just one or two videos about the game. I know that in the past it was you had to purchase it, and now I found out that it's actually now you can play for free, which is extra bonus for video games. And the game is Orcs Must Die. There's two versions, and the last one, the play for free, is Unchained, and it's pretty awesome also. If I don't know if you have seen it.
No, I haven't seen that one actually. Is it like one of the hack and slash types, or is it like more of an RPG? Or
Well, good question, because it's combination. Just hack and slash, I would never be interested in such games. But this combines tower defense, where you place and structure your traps and upgrade them, and also play in the same time with your character, which, well, you can change them and you can kind of modify them as well. So it's hack and slash, but mostly I'd say it's tower defense type.
yeah, that's interesting. Then I've played some tower defense games before too, so I think it's something that I would be interested in checking out. I mean, is it a PC only game or?
Good question. Actually, I haven't checked it, but give me a moment while we're speaking. I will find it out.
Yeah, because that's the whole reason that I can't play Raft, because Raft is only PC right now, which is unfortunate because I'd love to at least try Raft and see what I think about it. But no, but anyone that is interested, definitely check out Mariss's channel and you can, find out more about those games. He has a lot of State of Decay 2 videos that you should check out. And I don't know if you've heard of this one either, but another game I'm looking into possibly covering is Subnautica. Have you heard of that one?
Which was it? What about?
It's called Subnautica.
Thinking. The underground.
The underwater.
Underwater. Yeah. Underwater. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. You think it's cool to check it out?
Yeah, I've watched some people play it for a little bit. I mean, I haven't researched it a lot, but it looks interesting enough that I, want to try it out. So I am considering that so far. So, if anyone in my community is interested in seeing me play Subnautica or We Happy Few, then, let me know, guys. And I will be pushed further into trying those if you want to see them.
Yeah. The game, actually, one of my friends was really into it and said one of the most beautiful games. Other aspects, I think, was not so well polished, but yeah, it's really beautiful. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I like the graphics of it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just for the final note on Orcs Must Die Unchained, I see it's available on the Windows through Steam and on PlayStation 4.
All right, so I guess I can't play it then. But oh well.
Okay, then we can stop mentioning this game. Don't bother.
But I mean, some of my audience, they might have PS4s and PCs. So hey, if you guys, want to try it out, go for it. But yeah, I think we kind of covered, a little bit of your background and things, and kind of the games that you're interested in a little bit. So if you guys have similar interests, I know you definitely have these State of Decay interests, or else you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. So definitely at least check out Mariss's State of Decay videos, and hopefully stick around for his other videos as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I think some of my next video, I think I will make also for mods, because with your help, I have full list, and I think it's worth covering and mentioning to guys. Well, your nice work, and then I think I will definitely suggest to check out your podcast, because I see you are really involved in the game as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I actually cross-checked this list with the developer who made all the mods too. So this is the entire list, because I even checked with the developer that made these. So that is nice that I know that. So
yeah, nice.
But we will kind of get into the facility mods now. So basically how we're going to do this, just so everyone knows, is we're going to talk about each category separately, and we'll kind of, give our thoughts on that category. And then at the very end, when we're done talking about all the mods, we will get into a top 15 ranking. So there are 54 mods, I believe. So, we have a lot to cover, but we're going to, go ahead and get into it. And some of these mods aren't, worth talking about a lot. So we'll kind of breeze by some of the ones that aren't that great, but we'll spend a little more time on the ones that are useful to you. So that being said, the first category is sort of like your miscellaneous category, where these mods are mods that can be used in any facility. So these mods include a water cooler. This provides water to a facility. A solar generator. This provides free power to facility. A bike generator. This one provides power with labor and a slight morale penalty. So basically you'd have to spend labor and take a morale penalty, but you would get power that way. The portable generator. This provides power with fuel. So it's 1 fuel for 1 hour of use. The fireworks crafting station. This one is included with the Independence Pack DLC. So if you don't have that DLC, you wouldn't be able to get this one, but they made it so this one is available in all facilities, and you can craft the special ammo and the Independence Pack consumables in this. And the last one that's available in all facilities is the Comfy Chair, which gives you +3 morale. So, do you have any favorites from this list, Mariss?
Yeah. I see you already answered the question why I never seen this firework crafting station.
Yes.
So, that's... actually, I don't like none of them. All of them are bad. The only thing I can mention, this Comfy Chair, in my 230 hours playthrough, I never ever seen anywhere. Not even when you can buy it, but you don't have influence points. So yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while
This
to find
is
the comfy chair. The comfy chair is a little bit harder to find, I would say, and it's not a great mod, but what I do like about it is it is available to go in any, facility. So if there's a facility that you don't have a mod for already, you can just put this in there and, at least you have a couple morale from it. So like say you had a shooting range and you had no mods for that shooting range, at least you can put this comfy chair in the shooting range, so at least you're getting some benefit. So it's nice in that way, if you had nothing else to use.
yeah, sure. I think one mention from those mods will be the solar generator. I think one of my fans on my video commented that, just for notice, it gives electricity through the night as well, and it doesn't consume anything. So it's for the electricity generating purposes. That's, I think, one of the best. If you don't have anything else and you really need this facility getting power.
Right, I agree, which I was going to mention that as well. I think the solar generator, if you're someone that's newer to the game, is definitely a great mod because it's going to provide you base-wide power for free, so you're not going to have to spend fuel. It's not going to cause noise, so you're not going to have any of those issues. But if you're someone that's more experienced, you're probably using like the Builder Legacy card, so you probably already have free base-wide power. So if you're someone that's more experienced, it's probably not a great mod for you, but I would say for someone just starting out, it's definitely a great mod to use. But other than that, I mean, the other ones, kind of like you said, they're not that great. If you're just starting out, the water cooler will at least give you the water to a facility. So at least there is that option if you're just starting out. But the other mods, I mean, I would probably not recommend using it all unless you had nothing else to use. But at least there's options there if you are just starting out and you had nothing else to use.
Yeah, agree on that. I think only comfy chair is in your suggested list for the mods, so I don't even have any of those as preference.
Yeah, I mean, I would say out of that category, my favorite one would probably be the solar generator, only because for newer players, it's, kind of something that's really going to help them out a lot. But if you already have power, then you don't need that. But I would say it's at least, worth mentioning that if you don't have power, then it's a great mod to use.
Yeah, sure.
But the next category we have is our storage mods. So basically, these are all mods that give you extra storage of some type, and these can go in a storage facility, a food or meds facility, a workshop, or a lounge. I don't think they can go, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mariss, but I don't think they can go in like a fighting gym or anything. I think it's only like those ones I mentioned.
That actually should be verified, because so far my understanding was that shelving unit, I used currently shelving unit for any other mod if I have a facility which is open slot and I don't have this mod particularly. Right. But yeah, it could actually, while we're speaking, I'll check it out.
Yeah, that's the one I'm not sure about. I know it can go in pretty much any facility, but I'm not sure if it can go in the fighting gym and the shooting range. But I think the rest of them, it can go in there. So it's possible that they made it so it can go in everything. But while you're checking that out, the mods that we have are assortment of airtight containers. This one gives you +2 extra food storage. We have the small fuel tank. This gives +5 extra fuel storage. The secure case, which gives 5 extra ammo storage. The pallets, or pallet storage solution. This gives 5 material storage. The mini fridge. This gives you 2 food and med storage both, or 5 with power. So if you have power, then you get 5 meds and 5 food storage. So that's definitely nice that you get both at once. And then we have the shelving unit that Mariss mentioned, which gives you +2 storage of all resources. And that's the storage category. But for my taste, I mean, I think the secure case is probably my favorite just because it's harder to get ammo in the game. So if you upgrade your ammo storage, I think that's more beneficial to you, that you can actually put more ammo in your base. So for my taste, I think the extra ammo storage is nice. And the mini fridge isn't bad either, just because it gives you food and meds at the same time. Do you have any ones you want to comment on there?
Yeah, sure. My approach would be quite simple. Those are the mods that you use whenever you don't have anything else, just to fill up the mod slot. And also, yeah, you need to pay attention on which particular base you are currently living in, because often have this either fuel tank, either some extra storage, or for some particular the supply, you don't have to worry about the storage because there's extra built in from the base. So yeah, and I'd say it's simple, as you mentioned, for the ammo storage, especially in the beginning. If you somehow manage to have a lot of ammo and you can't currently produce the bullets you need, then yeah, you might run into problem. But just just a final word. I think it's one of my videos as well. I mentioned, like, if you have a problem with any supply particular, you can just take out the rucksack and place in any car near to your base.
Right, which is a huge tip that actually helps you out. So
yeah, so and just to mention, if someone new is or you think to check out the game, there's a limit in every base for every supply, and if you cross the limit after some time, everything that is more than allowed will be gone. It will just disappear. Just so you know.
Right, which that's why these ones I would suggest. I personally prefer the ammo storage, but I would suggest using whatever one in empty slots that you are going to be gaining a lot of. So let's say you have a lot of extra materials and you are always gaining extra materials for some reason, then you might want to use the pallet storage solution just so you have some extra material space. Like Mariss said, you can always put your extra rucksacks in the back of cars, and that will actually make sure your resources are protected. But if you wanted some extra space, I would use that extra space on things you have excess of. So, don't use an extra food space if you only have like 5 food in your base. I mean, if you only have 5 food in your base, you don't really need the extra storage. Use whatever extra storage that you actually need at the time. But that's kind of, those storage ones. I mean, I would say, like Mariss said, it is more, when you have an empty slot available that you can actually just, oh, well, let me get an extra couple of storage here because I have nothing else to put here. So I would say it's more for those situations, like he said. And I would say most of these you don't want to use unless you have an empty slot. But I would say the secure case is the best one out of all of them.
Yeah, and just to add an extra, currently for my base setup, I have water tank built in and infirmary. And in both of those facilities, I can install also storage mods. So yeah, I think the storage mods also can be applied everywhere.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I just didn't want to say it was official unless if I didn't know, but so
sure.
But we're pretty sure then that it can be applied to all of them for the most part. And like you were saying too, real quick, one of the bases that does actually have the extra storage is Mike's Concrete, that has like the fuel tank extra storage. So if one of the bases has, the big extra storage like that, then you really don't need extra storage for that actual item. So, Mike's Concrete has a lot of extra fuel storage. So in this case, you wouldn't need the small fuel tank because you already have a ton of extra storage. So just kind of, play it based on the base that you're at, because the base that you're at might have extra of something else. But that being said, we can move on to our next category. Our next category is the lounge mods. So there's 4 mods that are specifically for the lounge. And these are the game console. This one greatly improves morale with power. So if you have power, then you can use this, and it gives you plus 15 morale for 1 hour. The collection of board games. This boosts morale and makes a little bit of noise. And you have to spend 2 labor to get plus 15 morale for 16 minutes. The mini bar. This one gives a potent morale boost. You have to spend 5 jugs of ethanol, because obviously you're making drinks and things. And this gives you a plus 25 morale boost for 11 minutes. And the last one is the collection of reference books. This one will give you plus 10% skill improvement. So my thoughts real quick on this. I say the game console is the best one just because it's going to give you plus 15 morale, which is a great amount of morale, and it does it for an hour. So you're already going to have that for an hour. The rest of these, I'll give it for, a short amount of time. So because of that, I would say the game console is very useful to you because you're not going to have to worry for an hour in game that you're going to have 15 extra morale.
Yeah, I would actually, while you were speaking, I adjusted my list as well. Just for one reason, I will mention I had board games, because board games mod, you can, I don't know, it's always different for everyone, but in every playthrough I get the board games, so it's really easy to obtain. But this game console, which actually is way better because of four times longer period and just one labor. But I had it only in one playthrough, so it's a bit harder to find. So just keep an eye for both of them, and obviously switch and update if you have this console from the board game.
No, I definitely agree with that. And the game console is hard to find. I actually have 3 of them, but the reason why I got 3 is because one I bought off a trader, and then 2 of them I actually got from multiplayer rewards from friends' games. So I heard from the devs that it is very unlikely, but it is possible to find it out in the world. But the most likely way you're going to get them is either buying it off a trader or from playing multiplayer in your friends' games. So keep that in mind. Those are probably the 2 ways you're going to most get it. So if you do see the game console at a mysterious trader, I would definitely recommend buying it because it's only 500 influence. So for 500 influence, I would say it's definitely worth it to buy that.
Yeah, just a question. I'm wondering, because I have played in my friend's game, but it was in the beginning of the game when there was no patching, no updates, nothing at all. Was it introduced in some of the patches later on, or it was from the beginning?
It was from the beginning, but both times I got it, I got all the way to tier 5 rewards. I don't know what tier you're at, but I had to get to tier 5 rewards, and then after that, it's just, luck of the draw. I mean, I got game consoles before, and I've got network signal boosters before, so if you get to tier 5, you usually get better mods, so sometimes those better mods end up being like game console or something.
Okay, cool to know. I think 4th tier was the best I get, because either it was disconnect,
right?
Or
a lot
it
of
was
people
the
have that
bug.
issue, yeah.
Yeah, and the bug when the supply locker disappears and you can't trade anything, so there's no actual gain for keep playing with the friend. And I think I will check it out now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely, a great mod to use because it's basically 15 morale pretty much for free. I mean, if you have a lounge built, you're already going to get morale from that. And then you get 15 morale for 1 labor, and it lasts an hour. And unlike the board games, it doesn't say it makes a little bit of noise. So, I mean, you would think a game console would make noise, but according to the stats, it doesn't say it makes noise. But
so those crazy people created console that you can actually play, enjoy, but in silence. Nice.
Exactly.
Crazy. And just one point to mention here. It's somehow new players who don't know the game so well might think that morale is something small and the 10 or 3 or 5 is small numbers. Yes, this is not correct, especially when you start the game at the beginning, and even if in the middle when there's everything and a lot of going on and annoying people in your community. Morale is really, really important to actually keep people happy so they don't fight, and you have extra experience rate. And just I'm currently in the game and I'm checking, I have 2nd tier a morale level effect, which gives me 50% experience rate, and I think it's 25 when you get the first one.
Right, and then it keeps going up from there. I don't know if you ever got it maxed out before. Have you ever maxed out your morale?
Yeah, if I think the max out is 200% global speed and experience rate 100. Yeah,
I haven't done it often. I mean, I did it once just to see what it was, but when you get to 100 morale, 100's the max you can get to, and then it does give you the 200% global action speed. And I think it's 100% experience at that point.
Yeah, and it's exactly same bonus that you have only by crossing 60.
Yeah, so it's not, much different, but I mean, I wanted to get to 100 just for the challenge, so I did it just for the challenge. But
yeah, sure. And just bear with me on this one. Explaining and looking at your list and launch mods list, what we are discussing. If you ever encounter and get these reference books and also game console, it's easy to calculate. If you have like zero morale, like neutral, if you get the game console, you turn it on, you get 15 morale boost, and you get those experience rates up to 25. Wherever, if you somehow consider these reference books are cool, those only give you 10%. So already kind of understanding which to choose.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the reference books, I probably wouldn't recommend using them, honestly. I mean, if you don't really have any other mods for the lounge, then I guess you can use it, but the 10% skill improvement, I mean, you can do better things than that to get more skill improvement. And the skills aren't really that hard to, level up. So I would say that one's not as worth it to me.
I would just personally mention for myself, the leveling up the skills actually is fun, because one involves,
I agree, yeah.
Okay, running not so much, but killing zombies, shooting zombies. Well, that's kind of what this game is about.
And I will mention quickly too, the minibar that does technically give the highest morale boost of any mod in the game. It gives you plus 25, but it only gives it for 11 minutes, so it's very short, and it costs you 5 jugs of ethanol. And personally, I don't want to lose my 5 jugs of ethanol to do that, because I like to use my ethanol to make whiskey. I don't know if you use yours to make whiskey, but I like to use it to make whiskey for the trader leader.
And as you just mentioned, I turned on both stills to craft whiskey. Yes, I do that.
Yeah. So to me, I'd rather use it to make whiskey than get extra morale. So
yeah. Just small notice here. You will see from my priority list, and I would just mention at your list probably, I'm not a big fan of anything in any game that gives you something but asks you in return, like, spend your ethanol and then you get morale. No, there are things that are not spending any of your resources and still give you morale. So yeah, I always go for those.
I agree. And honestly, I mean, we'll get to my rankings at the end, but now that we're talking through this more, like, I'm liking, one in particular even less and less the more I talk about it, but we'll get to that afterwards.
Okay, cool.
But we will move on to the next category now. The next category is your garden, farm, or hydroponics mods. So basically all your facilities that can either make food or meds. So we have a couple of different mods just for those. One of those is the Jug of Pesticide. The Jug of Pesticide will give you plus 50% meds yield for that facility. The Bag of Fertilizer is basically the opposite. It's going to give you plus 50% food yield for that facility. The Garden Toolkit, that will give you plus 30% food or meds yield. The Soil Treatment Kit, that gives you plus 10 max health to all survivors. And the Compost Bin, this gives you spend 1 food and you get 100% yield. So, I don't know about you, but I mean, I think the Compost Bin is almost game breaking, and it's an amazing thing to use. I love using the Compost Bin.
Yeah, and if you watch my videos, you know what I will say. No? Okay. Yeah, it's simple math actually to compare a composite bin against fertilizer, and to find out then there's only 1 food, I think, difference between them.
1 food, as in like if you use it on hydroponics, or
yeah, we are speaking either to fully upgraded gardening or hydroponics. That's what I'm usually doing. So base is giving you 3 food, right? Then you get extra 100% yield, which is another 3, right?
Yep.
And you get probably turned on the seed boost, which is again extra.
Right, so that gives you up to 9, yep. So it gets you 9 for each hydroponics.
Up to 9, which brings back you down to only 8, because you are using 1 food to boost this with the composite bin, right? Right. Okay, and then if we break down to the exact same approach and using fertilizer, it gives you 3 base, 3 extra that's using seeds, that's 6, and then only 50% will bring you 1.5 food, which then sums up to 7.5. So sorry, I'm now rephrasing myself. The difference is only 0.5 food, but the cost for using composite bin is you constantly need to go and touch your garden.
Right, I see what you're saying there. I mean, when you break it down like that, it's not that much difference, and if you forget to do it, then you're kind of, screwing your whole base up if you forget to do whatever. So I do see what you're saying, that, the having to actually do that every single day in the game could be more annoying than the little bit of boost it gives you. So, I mean, it's, to each his own there, it's based on your preference. for me personally, I always remember to do it. So because I always remember to do it, I'd rather just have a little bit extra. But if you're someone that you don't want to, hit it every day in game, then I definitely understand your perspective for sure.
Yeah, sure. So that's the thing. I will just already spoiler alert from my list. I have both of those mods as first and second place. And the reason is quite simple. It's really crucial in the game to have food. That's the mostly used supply. So it's not enough if you had one. It's currently from this list. Now we're talking about. I have 3 mods, so 2 for food and 1 for medicine. So just keep an eye. Don't think that you have one composite bin or fertilizer that's enough for the game. So
right, I agree for sure. I mean, I think I have 3 jugs of pesticide, 3 compost bin, and 3 bags of fertilizer. So I have like 3 of each. So I have plenty to get me by. So I would definitely, hoard those as much as possible.
Yeah. So and for the gameplay itself, at the beginning you pay attention to everything and you think and you do everything carefully. Then probably you don't forget to use this boost. But later on, if you go on killing zombie spree, and that's the thing, it needs to just take your attention from your computer away when this notification comes out that the boost is turned off, right? And if you miss that, then the composite bin is just simply not paying enough. So I would just then suggest to find this fertilizer, and this little sacrifice would be enough, but that's stable income for the food.
Right. So I think it's more, just preference. I mean, I definitely see your point, but for me, I always remember to hit the compost bin because every time a day goes by, I'm like, okay, compost bin, okay, compost bin. Because I have other things like we talked about making whiskey. I, just constantly keep refreshing that as well. So I just keep making whiskey. I keep hitting my compost bin. I'll keep using my game console. So I have other tasks that I do every day in the game anyway. So basically, I just add that to the rotation. So if I'm already doing other tasks anyways, I just add the compost bin to the rotation and I still get the benefit from it. Like you said, when you broke it down, it's not much benefit, but I would rather have a little bit extra just because it's extra. So
yeah, sure. I'm totally with you, but I know that there are players who are not that careful with their base, so yeah.
Right. So yeah, if you're one of those players that you don't think you're going to be that careful about it, then definitely go with Mariss' strategy of just forgetting about it, and you just have to set the other mod up, and you'll get a little bit less, but you won't have to touch it anymore. So both strategies work. It's just depending on what type of player you are.
Yep.
But I will mention quickly too the soil treatment kit. I do like that one. I know when we talked off air, you weren't as big a fan of something like this, but giving plus 10 max health to all survivors, I think that's nice at least because it gives you an extra 10 damage you can take. And the problem I'd have with it though is I don't know if I'd ever want to actually put this in a garden or farm or something because I'd rather have the pesticide or I'd rather have the compost bin installed. So I don't know if I'd ever actually install this, but just the effect alone though, if you take away the fact that it goes in garden or farm, the effect alone, I do like the effect because it does help your survivor survive longer.
Yeah, good point you're making here. It would be great mod if there wouldn't be other even better mods. So yeah, it's crucial part because it gives you extra 3 food if you got the right treatment, the mod.
Right. So
yeah, in rare cases I see it. I install it only for curiosity. And yeah, if I may, then I mentioned specifically this pesticide. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if any of you carefully read the description of mods, you can find if the mod is working only for food production or it works only for meds. And for medicine, I think pesticide is the best to use, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because if meds are a lot harder to get in the game than food, I would say. So I would definitely say that's a good strategy to use it for meds.
Yeah, because this composite bin is not working for meds. That's what I'm getting at.
Right. Which I see that. I mean, but I think for meds, I just, take care of my meds with outposts instead. So that's how I solve my meds problem. But I mean, again, it's just kind of one of those, difference of play style, I guess, because you can solve these problems, many different ways in the game. It's just how you actually want to go about it. Because, like you're saying, basically, since I have the compost bins installed, I can't actually help my meds. But what I have is I just have 3 meds outposts instead. So I'm always gaining meds from my outposts. So I'm not worried about it in that sense.
I was just going to ask you, are you that crazy to spend 3 outposts for getting medicine? Because just for everyone to break down, your infirmary is using 2 meds on daily basis, and you need extra one because obviously you need some medicine to craft, you need some cures to craft. So 3 + 3 is the one you are aiming at every playthrough, and you're that crazy. 3 outposts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting plus on everything, so I think the only thing I'm not gaining every day is parts, technically. So I'm not gaining parts every day, but everything else I'm gaining. So, I mean, I'm only getting 1 meds every day, but I'll take the 1 meds,
Cool. Just mention, and you're not even thinking about lycanology?
I do have some books. I just haven't found a character yet that has an empty slot. But once I have a character with an empty slot, I'm going to put that on them, and then I will actually take away some of the outposts. So yes, I am, considering that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I just have. I'm looking at my stats. I have plus 4.5 meds per day. I have still 1 outpost that I can sacrifice in exchange to anything else, because my hydroponics is giving me 4.5. So 1 facility would be enough for one spot, 1 slot, and that covers everything. And I have extra one person that gives me extras.
Yeah, I have someone in my community that gives me extra food too. They give me an extra 1 food, which, like I said, I mean, once I find someone with my game with an empty 5th slot, I'm definitely going to put lycanology on them, and then that will give me room to actually destroy some meds outposts, because I'm only using that temporarily until I find someone with the 5th slot open.
Okay. On that, I would agree.
I know you are a big fan of having a lot of ammo outposts, though. I definitely like ammo outposts, too, so I have 2 of those right now.
No, to be honest, the ammo outpost is the only way how you can get ammo without going and scavenging. So, yeah.
Right. No, definitely. That's why I love having the ammo outposts. And like I said, I mean, everything in my base right now, I'm actually gaining everything. So, because the materials I'm gaining by using a staging area, that's how I'm gaining with that. So,
yeah, that's my approach as well.
So, see, we have, the same ways to get there. We just have different methods of getting there.
Sure.
We won't get there in the end.
Yep. And actually, if any of you are listening and taking a note or something, that's good. That's good to keep an eye how others are doing the stuff. But this game is exactly this awesome that you can get beds from outposts and have none beds in the base, or totally other way around. Everything allows it. And also, yeah, the gaining food or meds, or actually the same beds from the people. There are some traits. I had one once. This lady, she slept under the sky, which means she's not using any bed. And from the trait, she gave +2 beds. Just insane.
Oh wow, that's really nice. I haven't seen someone with that trait yet.
Yeah, it's combination of 2 of them. Yeah, the hero ability and the trait itself.
That's nice. I mean, I would love to have the +2 beds in my community.
Yeah, and it's so random from the people. So just keep an eye how you would like to build a base and mods. So we are giving you here advices and some other ways how to do it, how we do it, but it doesn't necessarily need it. It's the exact same approach for you is the best. So yeah. That's
right, definitely. I completely agree with that, because, I mean, as people are finding out here, we go about it a different way, but we both make the end goal the same thing. So we both have an end goal, and we both meet that end goal of, gaining everything in our base. So both of us are gaining things in our base, just we're doing it in different approaches. So there's other approaches you can use. These are just tips on, different approaches that will actually get you to the, nice goals that you have.
Yep, that's for sure.
But our next category is kind of a small one. It's the command center mods. So there's only 2 that are specific to the command center. You have the signal antenna, which will give you 1 extra outpost. And then you have the network signal booster, which gives you 2 extra outposts. I think a lot of players already know about these, but I mean, obviously, the signal antenna is not worth using, because the network signal booster gives you 2 outposts, and you definitely want to have that. So if you don't have one of these, try to find one however you can, because this is a game-changing mod, because having the extra 2 outposts, like, I don't know how I'd live in the game without it anymore.
This is really small category because either you don't have mods, you have 1 extra or 2 extra. But just wanted to mention from experience from the players, because we had a discussion under one of my videos where I just skipped. I have had limited influence points, and I chose something else over this signal booster. And then just comment section went crazy because some other people are playing like already few tenths of hours and never ever found such signal booster, and they are going crazy to find one. And I just skipped one, and I'm like and this is point what I wanted to mention. This signal booster can be found and can be bought. I acquired it in both ways. But this signal antenna, in worst case scenario, you don't have this booster, you can craft it in 3rd level workshop, I think. And requirements is you need power and you need knowledge of computers. And then you just can craft yourself this antenna if you can't find.
I thought it was knowledge of something else, but I could be wrong. Like, to actually craft it, I thought it was a different skill you needed, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
Well, I hope that it's not hidden, because currently I'm handing my mouse over, and it's requirements is knowledge of computers and power. But I think you need something else to get this workshop to the 3rd level. You need some mechanics or building or something like that.
I know what you're talking about, where you can craft, like, there's a couple of different mods you can actually craft, and I think what you need to craft it is construction, I believe, because I don't have construction in my community right now. I feel like it's construction you need to actually craft it. But the computers is what you need to upgrade to Command Center, though. But
no other way around. I would just insist. I'm currently looking in the game, and you need computer to craft. And I think to have a 3rd level workshop, that's where your construction is needed, because otherwise you can't upgrade to the 3rd level.
Right.
So 2 steps. You need construction to upgrade workshop to the max, and then computer skills to craft this antenna. So both are needed, but still, if you haven't found any antennas, that's your way to go.
Yeah, I think that's what I was getting at. We were just basically saying it in different ways, but
Sure.
But if, God forbid, you didn't have a signal antenna or a network signal booster and you can't craft it yet, this is a good opportunity to use that free slot for something that, like, say, a comfy chair. This is a good opportunity to use something like that because you have nothing else to put there, so you might as well just throw the comfy chair there and at least get something. So that's a good, opportunity for that. But
you got me laughing there, but I see how it goes very well. Like, there's zombie apocalypse and someone is like, well, guys, we need some antenna. We need to contact people. And someone's like, can we get a chair? Some comfy chair. That would be like, yeah, that's way to go.
Exactly. Cool. No, it's just some guy that just wants to sit there. He's like, nah, I'd rather just take this chair and sit. I mean, like, why would I want to go on the radio all day?
Yeah, there's everyone is chatting and bragging and talking all day.
Yeah, he's like, nah, I'm done with that. I'm just going to take this chair, y'all. I'm going to take a seat and I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's for zombie apocalypse, totally.
No, yeah, realistically, like, if you didn't have either one of those, then that is a good slot to use for something that, you just have, like, laying around, like, oh, I have this extra mod laying around, I can't put it anywhere else, let me throw it here for now. That's basically what I would use that for if you don't have one of those yet.
Yeah, I would agree here.
But our next category is actually the biggest category. This one has a ton of mods to use. This is the workshop mods. So this is going to be, kind of a big list. So we'll, try and break these up afterwards, but we'll go through them. One of them is the set of power tools. This one gives you plus 50% facility action speed with power. Then we have a whole list of ammo presses. There's a heavy duty ammo press, which gives you 50 cal rounds and 44 millimeter grenades. You have the handgun ammo press, which gives you 22 9mm and 45 caliber rounds. The Magnum press, which gives you .357 and 44 Magnum rounds. The shotgun press, which gives you your shotgun shells. And then the rifle ammo press, which gives you 5.56 and 7.62 millimeter rounds. So those are all your ammo presses that you can get, which there's quite a bit, but That's, they're definitely good to have them. And then in addition to that, you have a CNC mill. This makes parts from materials. It will cost you 3 materials, and you make 90 parts. You have a soldering station. This will give you the ability to craft boombox decoys with power. You have the salvage furnace. This will give you bonus parts from salvage, and it has an ongoing fuel cost of -1 fuel per day. So by bonus parts from salvage, if you have like a pile of weapon remains, instead of 50, you get 75 parts from this. That's basically what that one does for the most part. The filling machine, this will give you the ability to craft more Molotovs and field bombs. So when you have this installed, I tried it just to see, you can craft 12 of each of these. So without it, you can craft less. If you install this, then you can craft 12 field bombs and 12 Molotovs instead. And then the last one is the hand drill press. This gives you plus 25% action speed. So definitely quite a bit of mods for your workshop. So there's a lot of choices there.
Yeah, and I just jump right into the filling machine to help you out there. Without this filling machine, you have 9 Molotov cocktails.
9,
so
okay.
That's,
So it's increasing 3
that's
then. Okay.
3 extras. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, to me, with 3 extra, I would never really use it, but I just installed it just to see what it gives you with it. But I mean, I don't think that's one that's worth using because there's so many great mods for the workshop that's not really one I'm going to use that much.
I totally agree with you. Until one point, whenever players get, and that's what I'm suggesting, to explore game, and once you come upon this, how the fire works in the game, then this filling machine might come in handy.
True, yeah. No, I mean, I said on previous podcasts, like, I'm not huge into using explosives, so maybe that's why for my taste it's not worth it, but I mean, for someone that's like, oh, I love using the explosives, I use explosives every play card I go to, then maybe that's for them.
So you don't like explosives. You don't like my last video where I got everything exploding, right?
Well, I love watching things explode. I just don't like using the explosives that much.
Yeah.
But watching things explode is fun.
Yeah. And actually, guys, if I may just jump in and from the huge list, there are two things I just want to strike out right away. Just forget about them. You might guess which ones are those?
One is going to be the soldering station, right?
No, boomboxes are awesome. Well, I had it actually, and it's nice extra, but there are 2 even less.
I know which ones you're talking about then. You're talking about the hand drill press and the power tools?
Exactly. Yeah. And you can explain why?
Yeah, I mean, basically with the extra action speed, basically all it does is make your actions in the workshop faster, but it's not, something that actually takes a long time anyways, because the longest part of the workshop is building the workshop itself. Like, besides building the workshop itself, the actions themselves don't take longer than a couple minutes, so it's really not worth your time to actually use these to upgrade the action speed. So,
and just to add specifically, there's only one thing that takes more than moment. I'm speaking like now it's actually instant that I can update everyone. After the last patch, previously if you craft anything at all from workshop, it took you like half a second or something.
Right, yeah, it was so small it wasn't even worth it.
Yeah, now once you click, it's already there without any action, anything. You can just click like maniac and get everything right away. And only thing that takes time in workshop is I'm now looking from the list, is when you're salvaging weapon parts. If you find the weapon parts, you can salvage them in the parts, and that takes some 3 or 5 minutes or something, and that's the only thing. And it's crazy to use a mod specifically
just to do that faster. Yeah.
Yeah, because for that particular point you want this other mod, the salvage furnace, where you get more parts out of it, not faster but more parts from the same amount of weapons dismantle. So yeah, those are totally never ever use them, never ever buy them, never ever install them. Just
right. And there's other mods that do the same thing in like other facilities. Like there's one in the kitchen that upgrades action speed. Basically anything that says action speed that's a mod, don't use any of those because the action speed isn't something that's actually going to help you out. So
yeah, totally agree.
I mean, it sounds like you disagreed a little bit with the soldering station, but the reason why I don't think that's worth using is because there's other things you can use besides boomboxes that you don't have to, waste time crafting. Like, I would rather, like, say the fireworks crafting station, I can install that in any, facility, and I can just craft some block rockers. I can craft some, Rains of Fire or the other fireworks that come in that DLC, and I can use those instead. So I wouldn't want to waste my spot in the workshop to do that.
If you have this DLC purchased, if you have this mod, because I don't have, and then this boombox is kinda nice.
That's true. I mean, if you don't have the DLC, it might be a little bit more worth it. But I mean, I think, if you haven't checked it out before, you should at least check out what the block rocker does. It's a really cool firework, and it lasts a long time, and it brings so many zombies to one area. Like, it's really cool to use. So I would at least check out a video of that if you're not going to buy the DLC. But...
Now you are pushing me. Like, I already thought about buying it. And just for everyone who's listening, mostly for other facilities, there is just only, I think, a head infirmary where there are some suggestions to switch mods. But this workshop, for workshop, I'm currently having, I think, 5 or 6 mods, which I'm changing upon basically request. When I need 1 bullet, I install the mod. When I need some parts, I install this CNC mill. When I'm just dismantling old weapon parts, then I'm using this salvage furnace. So just keep in mind those mods can be swapped in and out, and that's what we are suggesting to do whenever you do something in workshop.
Right, yeah, because the workshop, it's one of those facilities that you don't want to keep the same mod for very long because you're always going to have other things you want to do. I mean, if you want ammo, like you said, you might want some shotgun ammo and then realize, oh, I want to make some parts too. So you take out the shotgun press and you put in your CNC mill. So there's so many of these mods that are so useful, and like just the CNC mill, to stop on that one real quick, making 90 parts like that is huge, because if you do it from your storage facility, then you only get 15. So instead of that, you get 90. I mean, you do have to use 3 materials instead of 1. So, I mean, doing the math, it's 30 more, but still 30 more is, well worth it in my opinion.
Let me quickly check this.
Oh, wait, 45 more, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, because it's on 1 for 15, so it'd be 45 is what the conversion is, so yeah.
It's one for 20 if you dismantle in the storage. So yeah, it is better, definitely. It's 1 material, you get 20 parts, and with the CNC mill you get 30. So yeah, huge increase, definitely.
Oh, that's odd. I definitely destroyed some for 15 before, so I don't know, maybe they changed that, or...
What do you mean destroyed?
In the storage area, like, I use 1 material to get 15 parts, but now you're telling me it's 20, so maybe they changed that recently. I don't know. Maybe it was like something they didn't tell anyone about.
Yeah, no, it's 20.
Huh.
It's 20. I'm thinking if I have something influence from the craftsmanship, if I have a person that has this skill, if that somehow influences...
That could be it, yeah. That could boost you up, maybe.
But I think it was 20. But okay, it's anyways, for making parts, this CNC mill is way to go, definitely. And just to add something there, in mid and late game, when you have everything set up in your base, there is actually nowhere to put those materials. And if you have upgraded workshop, they are constantly coming in. So you will find yourself in a position when you have a lot of materials and there's nowhere to put them. And CNC mill is the way to, make them in parts.
Definitely. And I love, making parts, and I'm kind of a parts hoarder a little bit, but I have way too many parts that I would never need, but I just like getting more and more parts. I don't know if you're the same way.
Yeah, usually I do, but somehow in this playthrough I currently now have only 500, which is way less than usually, but yeah, I totally understand you, because you never, in zombie apocalypse, you need to make sure that you have everything, like a lot of everything.
Yeah, right now in my current community, I have 3,100 parts, so.
Oh, you're crazy.
So that's why I'm saying I'm a little bit of a parts hoarder. I mean, I definitely don't need 3,000 parts, but I just like to keep hoarding them anyways.
But just yeah, for everyone else, if you're listening, like 3,000, it's so many. But once you start crafting, and if you have your hands on the upgraded version, what was it? Um, Handmade suppressor. They use 75 per craft, which makes, well, if you want to upgrade for all your community and have some spare, that's a lot where it goes. And if you craft spy bombs and this machine repair toolkit, how it's called, yeah, repair toolkit, there's where a lot of repair. So there's a lot of things that are using those parts. So those
Definitely.
hammer can be, yeah.
And
So I agree with you. This keep hoarding them.
oh, I will, trust me. Which one you actually didn't mention too, you can use the parts to make car upgrade kits, and I've used a lot of parts to make car upgrade kits before to upgrade my cars, so that's another way you can use parts.
Yeah, okay. Let's not mix up car upgrades mod. I think that's a whole podcast we can make another day because there's a lot of things I would definitely love to discuss. But yeah, that I think it uses like 100 and 150, right? Or I'm remembering wrong.
No, I believe for each upgrade kit, it's either 50 or 75 parts, depending what size the vehicle is.
Could it be 50, 75 and a heavy 100? Because I remember it
that
was
might be
quite
that.
heavy.
Yeah, that might be right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And if you have few vans and military track, and then you have to craft some hundreds, those parts run out quite quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I have so many parts that I rather go that way. Like, it sounds from the way you're talking a little bit, you might like to do way better where you buy them, but I'd rather keep my influence. So that's just my personal opinion. But
yeah, all the everything you can save, either that's parts or influence or anything else. That's and just mentioning as a gamer, the only games where you need to pay attention what you hold to yourself is when you have limited space for your inventory or something. And this is not the case. You can have as much as you want. So that's why we both are gathering everything.
exactly. So, and this is why I love the CNC mill, because that gets me more parts, and I love my parts. So.
Yep, for sure.
But we can move on to the next category now. The next category is the kitchen mods. So the kitchen mods, there's a couple of different unique ones. There is a canning station. This gives you +5 storage for food. There's a food dehydrator, which gives you +10 food storage with power. There's an espresso machine, which you can make espresso with water. A stand mixer. This gives you +50% action speed with power. So like we said before, don't worry about this one. Forget it. There's a slow cooker. Use 1 food to boost 10 morale, which lasts for an hour. And then these last two, these are actually the only mods in the game I don't have. I just haven't been able to find them, and if anyone actually has these, definitely hit me up after, because I'd like to trade for them, because I definitely want these. But the countertop oven, this consumes some food and fuel for a morale boost. And the water boiler, this will let you speed up your kitchen actions with water. And the only reason I even know what those do is because the dev actually told me what they do. And he did confirm they are in the game, but I haven't actually seen them, and I don't think you have either, Mariss, right?
Yeah, I don't have them either, and I even at the top I don't have some of them. But even if I'm looking at the bonus, I would not go for them. But yeah, please give your thoughts on those.
Yeah, I mean, on the two that I don't have, the countertop oven and the water boiler, I would never actually use them. Just I want to have them, that way I can complete my collection. That's the only reason I want them. But so.
Yeah, understandable.
But in terms of actually using, I think the food dehydrator is really unique. And if you have a kitchen, there's some bases that have built-in kitchens, and giving +10 extra food storage, that's actually a crazy amount of food storage to give, because most of these other mods we talked about that give storage, they give 5 at most. So 10 extra food storage is definitely handy, especially if you have a built-in kitchen already.
Okay. But just overall for the storage itself, I think I mentioned it in one of my videos as well. Just something I've noticed. Funny thing, because in the game sometimes it happens that you do something totally out of the base or something, and there's oh, there's a rat in the food or something, and they take away some of your food,
Yeah, that happens a lot.
it's spoiled, or for the ammo, or for the material, something broke, something. And one thing that I noticed is that happens particularly when you have a lot of everything, and only when I had some bad start and I couldn't find any food or something, I think, and I just was scavenging, and it was like, oh, we went out and we find a food, and I'm like, that's something suspicious. And my assumption is, if you are familiar with the term rubber banding, it's usually mostly used for the Need for Speed games, and the idea is quite simple. The computer is rubber band with the player, because whenever the computer gets ahead of you, it starts doing some stupid things, and just and you can catch up to them. And whenever they are behind you, they are speeding like the best racers in the world. Because and the idea is that computer is always around you. You never feel like left alone, or computer is just 2 laps ahead. And the same, I think, is the approach for the supplies. If you have a lot of them, the game somehow is built in like, okay, let's spoil some of them because it seems this guy's getting everything. And when you don't have some particular point, I just know from the playthrough, they just brought in. And for that assumption, the storage should never be a goal. And my suggestion, just personally, just never tested, never confirmed, never ever try to achieve everything and fully, because you will get frustrated. It will be taken away from you. So long story long, this storage is always tricky, because you think if you have extra storage, you can have like 30, 40 food or something. Trust me, it will be spoiled. Just keep some bare minimum, 15 up to 20 something, and it will be fine for all the supplies. That's just my never ever confirmed input for this. Like, yeah.
No, I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, I think you're probably right about that. Like, I can't confirm it either, but I definitely notice that a lot too. When you get a lot of something, that's when it starts spoiling. Like, for example, I have a lot of fuel in my base, and somehow they're always like, "Oh, something caught on fire. Sorry, we lost some fuel." I'm like, "Oh, great job, guys."
Am I right? Just fuel, just playing around with fuel. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say though is, like, it depends, how good at the base management you are, because for me, like, I have, I'm gaining on everything. So I'm gaining on materials, I'm gaining on fuel, I'm gaining on all that right now. So for me, like, if I have the extra storage and I lost, like, one fuel or something like that, I don't really care that much because I'm gaining anyways. So if I'm gaining anyways, I'm just going to get it right back the next day. So that's the way I look at it, because I look at it as I'm not actually losing anything because I was going to gain anyways. So, like, for example, food, if I'm gaining like 7.5 food, then okay, if I lost 2 food, then I don't really care. I'm still going to gain 5.5 the next day. So that's kind of how I look at it. But if you have like a low amount of food, then it's going to hurt you a little more. So that's why I like to keep my food and everything like stocked up a little bit higher, just so I'm not really worried about it. And if I lose a couple, then whatever, I'll get it back next day.
Yeah, sure. And just to mention for everyone else, it's quite crucial, in my opinion, to upgrade storage, because the first level, I think, allows 15 supplies for each, right?
I believe so, yes. And then I think it's 25 after that is level 2.
Yeah. And only if you have second upgraded, which is not that costly. It's I would suggest for almost every base. Maybe in the first you can skip this, but when you have 25 and you have some facilities maybe where you have installed this extra 2 or 5 something, trust me, it's enough, because fuel you can always turn into this fuel that you put in the cars, right? Ammo you can always craft into ammo. Materials you always dismantle in the parts. But just point here, parts never get spoiled. It's just for the supplies. And for food, yes, as you mentioned, making whiskey, like ethanol and then whiskey, that's how we spend it. And meds, of course, you make this bulk cure or even meds. And there's always a way how you can keep an eye and not lose any of your supplies. And long story why, sorry for a bit sidetracked, but in my opinion, none of the storage is way to go. It's always like if you have nothing else, then any kind of storage is like, okay, let's install this for just for funs. But whenever something else, any else mod is coming in, that's what you switch on. That's just my approach, of course.
Right, which I understand that, but I mean, in this case with the kitchen, there's not a lot of great mods for the kitchen, so that's why I would still recommend the food dehydrator, because in the kitchen, there's not a lot of great mods I would want to use. I mean, the espresso machine isn't bad if you want some espresso to help your characters, but I mean, I've never used the espresso machine that much, and I guess the slow cooker isn't a horrible mod because you get 10 morale if you really need it, but I'd rather not spend the food to do that. So personally, I would want to use the food dehydrator more.
Okay, understandable. Yeah, just from the list, I can't give you all the inputs because the canning station, the food, the espresso machine, and bottom two, I never had. Basically, I think I have this mixer and slow cooker only, and long story short, I'm using the slow cooker. And reason for this is quite simple, actually. Just bear with me, extra bonus. Of course, it's used food. And if you, as you mentioned, we are good with managing, then you get extra. And this one food is not a big deal. Right. And 10 morale might be a breaking point to get this this extra boost, right? This threshold which you need for morale. And why especially slow cooker I want to highlight is if you don't have any community member with cooking skill, you can't cook anything, like any boost, any feast, anything. This slow cooker can be used for everyone. You don't need to cook for, and just imagine the more people you have, the more food you need, and just everything. So it limits your skills, your communities possessing, and not like you can skip easily this cook skill if you have this slow cooker, because that's how you also burn down food if you have too much of it. Because if you don't have a still, you can't make that whiskey, so you will be overproducing food. So just mentioning it's not that bad in my opinion. So I wanted to throw extra bonus that you don't need the skill for cooking.
No, yeah, definitely. And I see what you're getting at there. I mean, but like we said, like my community right now, I do have the still, so I'd rather use my food in the still. But if you don't have the still, then like you were saying, then, you know, that might be a good use for some of your extra food.
Just a curiosity, what base you are currently? You mentioned you have stills?
Yes. Currently, I'm in the one you hate, the container fort, but...
Oh, you shouldn't have said that.
It's because I just switched maps. I went there, you know, fast while I switched maps, and I set up real quick there, but I will be switching eventually, so...
But you know there's a base where you have two stills in the same time, two stills.
Yeah, I believe the one that you recommend is more and more distributing, I think, right?
No. It's actually called Bravery. And yeah, it's in different map.
You're talking about Swelliones, right?
I'm now checking because I'm currently I have opened the saved where I am in the base, and then you can't read the title. I don't know where I can find it. But yeah, I'm just wondering, if you love whiskey that much, I would suggest to get where it's built in and you have two stills.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not that bad of an idea. And I think, like, with these bases, too, I mean, pretty much most of the bases, you can make them work if you know what you're doing. So there's not many bases in the game that you can't make work if you know what you're doing.
All depends on your community. And specifically on 2 points. One is the count, how many people you have. That's just one. And another, if you have all the skills leveled up, if you have meds incoming, and I don't know, some awesome traits with extra beds or extra food or something, then definitely you can live even in the first base. But if you are just leveling up and you don't have all those nice traits and everything, I'd say it might be tricky. It might be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does depend on your community. You're right about that. So, but I think like the mid-tier bases are what I'm talking about more. I mean, say like a Knight's Family Drive-In or like a Mike's Concrete, like the bases that are that size, I think you can make any base that's that size usually work for you. So
yeah, for me, I don't have such a personalized approach with specific names, but I call them 1,500K, 1.5K bases.
Right, yeah, those bases, yep.
and actually the 1K, 1,000 influence points cost bases. I think, yeah, both of them might and is kind of sustainable, but of course, the smaller the tier, the cheaper the base, it will be more tricky. But yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you'd agree that like most of the time, I prefer the 1,000 or 1,500 bases better, anyways. Like a lot of the 3,500 bases don't exactly do what I want them to do. So
yep, that's the case. I'm currently where the most expensive base is this Whitney Field. Yeah. What is the base? I'm an Meagher's Wally. So yeah, there this 1,500 base is this brewery.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Swelly owns. Yep.
Oh, that's nice. That's your favorite as well, I guess. No.
Yeah, I'm just not in that map right now. But if I was in that map, I'd be going there. So.
Yeah, I think I'll do everything in here, and we'll switch maps as well. So we'll switch then. I'll take yours, you take mine.
Okay, that sounds good. No, so that's what happened to me. I switched maps. I was in Drucker, and I switched to Cascade Hills. So, right away when I switched, I just picked up the container for it because I knew it'd be something that I could set up really fast and, not worry about it for a little bit.
Yeah. And especially when you have full community and influence points and community member count, you can switch map and just go for the biggest base or the base you want.
Right, exactly.
That's not a problem.
Because with the container for it already had 8 beds built in. So I'm like, well, I'll just go there real quick. I don't have to worry about beds and my community can at least sleep there for a little while.
Yep, that's for sure.
But moving on to the next category, we have infirmary mods. So we have some interesting ones for the infirmary. We have the cleaning station, which gives you plus 25% infection recovery from partial blood plague. We have the cast making kit. This allows for passive recovery from injuries for inactive characters only. And I do want to note that basically you get this effect anyways if you have infirmary level 2 or higher. So this is most useful with level 1 infirmaries. So if you're like early on in the game. You have the sanitizing machine. This gives you plus 50% infection recovery from partial blood plague. Case of stabilizing foam. This gives you cheap instant health recovery or ability to quickly recover health. And the last one is the pill press. This gives you a painkiller crafting discount. So what this does is it makes it so it costs 1 med instead of 2 to make painkillers. So out of these, I mean, I think the cast making kit is, the best one if you have a level 1 infirmary. But once you get past level 1 infirmary, then it loses a lot of value because you get that effect anyways. But the other one I think is really good is the pill press because you can make a lot of pills and only use 1 med every time. So I think the pill press is definitely a great one too.
Yeah, I would agree. One thing, just help me remind. Infirmary from the beginning, from the first level, is straight away using 2 meds or only when it's upgraded?
I believe it's using 2 right away. Kind of sucks, but
yeah. I'm just thinking. Yeah, I think at once I wanted to try out because actually it was funny thing to upgrade infirmary to 2nd level. I think you need some not circuitry, but either the chemicals or something like that. Anyhow, I didn't have the upgrade materials and not the casual supply materials, but there's some extra needed. And I just couldn't update. And I had some injury. And then at that point, I looked at the mod and I was like, okay, this is it. Why should I care actually upgrading? Because the only reason to upgrade the infirmary is for getting rid of injuries.
Right,
And with
exactly.
this mod, yeah, you can skip the part.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you don't want to upgrade right away, then just like you're saying, you can use the cast making kit and that will take care of the injuries for you, which is really nice.
Yep. And yeah, I wanted to give 2 extra info right away. Checking right now, this pill press is even better because I'm looking that you need one med to craft weak painkillers, but to craft casual painkillers and strong painkillers, you need also ethanol, jug of ethanol, and I see it also is down to 1. And I'm just wondering, I think it previously was higher. It used 2 meds and...
That could be the case, yeah, because when I installed it, I looked at it and it was 1 across the board, so I just assumed it reduced it by 1 for everything, but you're probably right. It probably was more meds, so it might even be better for the higher ones that you craft.
Yep, that's the thing. It uses 2 ethanol without, just uninstalled, and 4 jugs of ethanol if you make the strong painkillers. So it not reduces only the meds, but also the ethanol usage. So extra bonus for...
Yes, that's even way better than I thought it was then, in that case.
Yep, and also just wanted to let me shame another mod. It's the case of stabilizing foam. Cheap instant health recovery. It uses 1 medic, the supply, the big med, and it's insane. It's the worst thing ever. It's like your infirmary from the first level, when you leave the person there, gets the health back just like that. And they are just giving you this awesome feature that you can fill the health up by using meds. Why would you do that? No one wants to do that.
Right. I mean, yeah, because I installed that. I'm like, this really doesn't seem like it's doing a whole lot for me. So.
Yep.
Yeah, so I wouldn't use that one. I mean, I think we're both in agreement that the most useful ones basically are the pill press and the cast making kit. I will say that if you are prone to a lot of infections, like say, you often get the blood plague for some reason, then maybe you want to use a sanitizing machine just because it's going to help you with infection recovery. But I mean, if you're not prone to getting blood plague, then I wouldn't really use that either.
Yeah. I think I need to check my list, what I have. I think I'm suggesting also this sanitizing machine. Just in the beginning, if you are not familiar with the game, it might be frustrating that your people get infected more. And
that's true,
just a notice, and just a notice for everyone. Maybe that's just my fault, but after the last patch, I think it was after the last match, I managed to have 2 of my community members infected, which is not my doing, obviously. I'm doing all my stuff as I'm always doing, but the companion that is with me is acting a bit dumber, like standing still when being hit and not avoiding. I don't know why, maybe some problem or influence from the patch, but I actually never ever before in those 200 hours when I played used the plague this cure. It was like never ever used, and now in few days I just had 2 people. I'm just coming back to base and he's looking strange, and yep, it's infected. So I don't know if it's the case only for me.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen to me personally, but I mean, if that did happen, then that's a great reason to use it because that's going to help you out to get those people back to normal. So that's definitely a great reason to use it there.
Yep, the painkiller is the. Also, just a notice, if any of you wondering, let's cast a bit shadow on this painkiller thing. I'm looking right now in the game, and there's 2 things basically, but mostly you want to craft. Either it's painkillers, and the first is the bandages, right? And
right.
this effect that reduces med costs is only for painkillers. It doesn't affect bandages. Just keep an eye. And I'm mentioning specifically this for one reason. If you have person with this medicine skill and you want to increase the skill, crafting painkillers actually, pay attention to the notes. it increases the chemical skills and not the medicine. For medicine skill to be improved for your community member, you need to craft bandages. And for bandages, this mod gives none of the benefits. Just wanted to add a bit extra.
Yeah, and that's definitely good to know that. I mean, for me, that's not, worth not using it because I prefer painkillers over bandages usually anyways, but because the painkillers obviously use them instantly. The bandages, it takes a little while. So bandages are worse to use in a horde, but I mean, it's definitely good to know that at least.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I don't need those bandages. I probably will sell them off. But
Right.
One thing that you definitely want, because you will realize this is a big game changer for everyone who you will playing the game, is whenever you max out your skill, it gives you extra something. And this medicine skill is rarely used if you don't have anyone infected, if you're not using as like the medicine, then crafting those bandages that's the way how you level up the medicine skill. And for that, you will use the bandages, not for healing, obviously. So,
Yeah, no, definitely a great point there. But we only have 2 categories left, and they're both pretty small. One of them is your sleeping facility mods. So this is like your beds, it's either your beds, your barracks, whatever you're using for sleeping. And the 2 that you have here is your camp heater, which gives you +3 morale with fuel, and your white noise machine, which gives you +10 morale with power. And I know we're both in agreement here. Do you want to tell people why the white noise machine is amazing?
It's kind of obvious. 10 morale, and it's passive. And for power usage, just one thing actually, I wanted to cast a little shadow again. If you are getting this electricity by running generator that uses fuel, that might be like a bit extra. But if you have the power from any other source, like for the base or anyhow, it's just doing the job. If that was the point you wanted I make.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the cool thing about this too is it's not something that's wasting a facility slot that you're going to be able to use for something else, because a lot of these mods that give morale, they're going to take up a slot that you're going to be able to use for something else. So like, say for example, this was something that had to be in the workshop. If this had to be in the workshop, it wouldn't be as useful because it's taking up a slot that you need for your workshop. But because it's used in your beds and there's only 2 mods you can actually use in your beds, that makes it even better because there's nothing else you can put in your beds besides this or camp heater. And in that case, basically it's just like 10 free morale because you don't have any other choices. So essentially you're just taking, oh, I want 10 free morale. Yes, please. That's basically all you're saying.
Yeah, that's for sure. And there's a lot of bases, I think, where these beds are not destroyable, so they are there. So take it or leave it. And yeah, then this white noise machine is coming in handy. And may I throw you one extra? I don't know. Someone probably can check this out, but
Yeah, go for it.
I tested out in the beginning of game. I don't know. I believe it's probably first or second patch. And whenever you install this camp heater, it's written that you require the fuel. But if you then go and check the base actual fuel usage, it doesn't show up anything. And I was thinking either it's a bug. I think at that point I had no intentions to make videos, stupid Mariss, but I never tested out if actually the fuel was taken away. But it kind of says that you need fuel, but it doesn't take -1. So
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
almost certain that it doesn't take fuel. I think it is a bug that it's supposed to take fuel, but I don't think it does actually. So I think it is a bug.
Now I have extra. Just a thought. Maybe, what if you have 0 fuel and then it stops working? Like you have to have it in your base, but it doesn't consume. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like, it's using free fuel or something.
Yeah, you have the mod. You have to test it. You have to test it.
All right, I'll test it out now. The one thing I will
Cool.
say though is with the white noise machine and camp heater, like for example, at my current base, I'm at the container for it, which has the 8 beds built in, and it doesn't actually show up on my command screen, so I can't install these mods in that. So I will caution people, if you are using the container for it, that is one extra reason not to use the container for it, because you can't use these mods because you can't actually install it in your beds. So that is a disadvantage to that.
Yep, that's for sure.
But our last category is either your shooting range or fighting gym mods. So there's 4 of these, and there's basically 2 each. You have the set of motorized targets, which gives you plus 50% action speed with power. The brass collector, which gives you plus 30% action speed. The all-in-one workout system, which gives you plus 5 max stamina and plus 5 max HP. And then your set of free weights, which gives you plus 10 max health. So already the brass collector and the motorized targets, those have action speed, so just don't even worry about those. Basically, the only ones to even pay attention to here are the workout system and the free weights. Which I think...
Is that...
Go ahead.
I'm just you will tell me later on. I'm suggesting to explore you. Just a suggestion. I had 2 enclaves that boosted, I think, this action speed, and then I had some extra action speed and I never paid attention, as you just mentioned. Just forget about them. And at one point, I think I accumulated so much extra action speed that when I ran to the and started searching those containers in some scavenging, basically with shift hold, like fast, it was like insane. It was like just in a second and without any floating outposts. And at that point, it got me thinking, if and when you are scavenging, and as we know now, the floating outposts are out of the game, this action speed might be a bit more important than we currently paid attention to.
That is something to think about for sure. Because if it does actually boost like your searching speed and stuff, which maybe it does, and we didn't realize that, then that would actually make it a little bit more useful.
I would say it is, and you need to pay attention. It also, if you check your staging area, it specifically says that it increases speed, but in brackets it says building speed. But this, which is action speed, is all the actions you take in the base, which basic, not in the base, but in the game. And now I'm thinking it's only in the looting, and it is increasing. And I'm suggesting you to just play it out, find it out, test it out, and getting I don't know, people with traits, this mod, and like the maximum, and then go and try looting, and I think you will be quite amazed.
Yeah, that is probably true, because the way they word things, like, it makes it sound like it's just, facility action speed. So it could actually be global as well, because I know, like, when we were talking about morale earlier, the morale actually upgrades global action speed. So if it is global action speed like that, then that's actually a little bit better.
Yeah, need to check it out more. Now I'm interested as well. So yeah, please continue.
I was going to say, though, the all-in-one workout system, I do like that, because anyone that's listened to my previous podcast know that I really love stamina. And even though it is only 5, it gives you 5 max stamina and 5 max HP. Like, I just love having any extra stamina I can get, because any extra stamina is just, that more of a advantage against the zombies, because now I can, run farther without having to worry about anything. I can fight longer, and even though it's only a little bit, all that little bit stacks up. So if you have a little bit there, if you have, like, say, if you have the plumbing skill, that'll stack up. If you have something else, that'll stack up. So the more you just stack together, the better. And even though it's a little bit of a boost, I would rather have that little bit of boost.
Yeah, I think we established that before the podcast. So you're a big fan of stamina.
I am, yes.
I know it's important, but yeah, and I think we also agreed on the point that shooting range in general and fighting gym, it's only if it's built in the base and you can't get rid of them, then yes, fine, I can have them. But otherwise, it's just me probably. But in my videos, when I went through all the facilities, I was like, seriously? Because as far as I remember, gym specifically, any boost, any bonus you can have, it requires med and food. So those are the two crucial parts that you need in the game to live, and then you need to spend them for just a minor boost. Like, no, it's a no-go for sure, just for me.
I mean, if it said, spend some fuel, then I wouldn't mind getting rid of the fuel a little bit, but...
Yeah, true.
No, I definitely agree with you. Like, in one of my previous podcasts, I talked a lot about the abandoned strip mall, which does have a built-in Taekwondo gym. And in those situations where it's already built in, like you said, I think this all-in-one workout system is great because it's already built in, so you can't do anything with it anyways, and you might as well just add this to your, character's HP and stamina. But that's kind of the problem I have with these, because the buff, I like the buff, but I don't like that it's in the fighting gym. So, like, say they took this buff of 5 stamina and 5 HP, and they put it in a facility I actually want to use, like, say it was something you could use in your lounge, just for example, like, then I'd be like, oh, I can actually use that in my lounge that I'm already using. I'd be like, interesting. Or even say the still, like, because the still currently you can't actually use mods for. Say they put this as available in the still, that would be amazing. I'd be like, oh, I don't have any mods in my still right now. Let me just use this. So I wish it was something that I was actually using more, because the fighting gym I don't use. So I like the buff. I just don't like that it's actually applied to the fighting gym.
Yeah, on that, I definitely agree.
But the free weights too, kind of the same thing. 10 max health. The buff is nice. Just it's in the fighting gym again. So that's my problem with it. But I mean, you'll see when I did my rankings. When I did my rankings, which we're going to get to in a second, I kind of ranked things as if, like, okay, just take the mod by itself, and if this mod was taken by itself, out of context, how is this map mod stack up? And I kind of tried to rank the mods by themselves, how they stack up in the game. Because basically these two mods, like, they rank way low for me if, you take into context that they have to be in the fighting gym. So it depends how you do your rankings. But if you take out of context that they have to be in the fighting gym, you just take the mod by itself as, standalone thing. That's kind of how I rank them.
Okay, yeah. I think you already started quite well. You want to tell us your ranking list?
Yeah, let's do it. And I do want to make one change to my rankings, as we kind of said earlier, because...
Oh, no, we can't do that. No, what's written is there. Sorry. Sure, go ahead. What you will be changing?
What I'm going to be doing is taking the minibar out, because the more we talked about it, the more I didn't like the minibar. So I did have the minibar in my top 15, but I don't want that in my top 15. So
fair enough.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the minibar with Jug of Pesticide. So that will be replaced by the Jug of Pesticide, basically. So that wasn't in my top 15, but now it will be. That's the one that gives you the plus 50% meds yield.
All right. Now we are getting really close to our...
Yes. But all right. So that being said, number 15 in my rankings is the cast making kit, which goes in your infirmary. And I had a hard time with this one. Like, I like the effect of it. The effect is amazing. Just, I don't like the fact that, like, if you upgrade your infirmary to level 2, then the effect is kind of meaningless. But if it's at level 1, this effect is amazing. And that's why I felt it deserved a spot in my top 15 still, because, like, the job that it does is amazing. But the fact that it's only useful at 1 level, that made me think, well, I have to try and balance this. I think it's worth a spot on my list, but I think it has to be the very bottom of my list. So I don't know how you feel about the cast making kit being there, but
I'm thinking how we will do this, but in my list it's in number 9.
Number 9, all right.
Yeah, but I think we will go through your list, because my approach is a bit differently. I'm not looking. I'm looking from first time player, or actually like second and third time player coming in the game. And then if you have all the mods, what will be your first pick that you definitely can benefit the most? And then by the least and not particular in one something or the facility. So I have a bit different approach for the listing. So that's why our lists, I think, also not matching so well. But
right.
So yeah, let's go through yours.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because it depends how you actually do it. I mean, the way I did my list, like I said, before we started the rankings, I did it as if like, okay, this mob by itself, what mob by itself is going to help me the most long term in the game. So that's kind of how I try to look at mine. But number 14 on my list is the soil treatment kit. This is the one that goes in the garden, farm, or hydroponics, and this is the one that gives you plus 10 HP. And the problem I have with this one, like I said back in when we talked about it, is the fact that it actually goes in your garden or farm, and it takes away a spot that you could use for like your compost bin or something. So that is the issue I have with it. But I like the effect of the 10 HP. So again, I was trying to balance that. I think it's good enough to stay on the list just because of the effect, but I don't like that I have to get rid of the compost bin or something else in order to have it there.
Okay, fair enough.
So number 13, we have the set of free weights, which that gives you plus 10 HP as well, and that's the fighting gym. I mean, I won't say much else about that because I've already covered, right before we talked about this, why. So I don't like the fighting gym, but I like the effect, so I'll just keep moving.
Sure.
Number 12 is the solar generator, which goes in any facility. And this one, if you're an experienced player, this wouldn't even make my list, but because it's so useful to players that are newer at the game, I thought it deserved a spot in the list, because if you're newer at the game and you don't have base Y power yet, then this is very useful to you, because you can power any facility and it's not going to cost you any noise or any fuel or anything like that. So I think it was good enough to make the list. Just if you're an experienced player, then I would definitely say take this one off the list and, replace it with something else, because if you're experienced at the game and you already have like the Builder Legacy boon, then you don't even need this one. But if you're newer at the game, you don't have power yet, then I'd say this is definitely, one of the top 15.
Oh, yes. I actually now a bit ashamed that I don't have this in the list, because yes, in the first playthroughs when you need electricity for facilities, and I wanted to mention it's not so easy to find, and I think you can craft it if you have all the skills. But
I believe you can craft it, but it isn't easy to find for sure.
Yeah. So good, very good position.
Thank you, appreciate it. But number 11, I have the secure case. This is the one that gives you plus 5 ammo to your storage. And like I talked about back when we talked about the storage, I like having the extra ammo storage because ammo is very important in the game and it's hard to get. So I think this one is, one of the better storage ones. So I would say this is the top storage option in my view for the most part.
Oh, yeah, sure. Just tell me when I can start booing now. Boo! I already explained my approach for storage, but sure. Go ahead with your list.
Well, like we said, throughout the podcast, I mean, we seem to have a little bit different approaches, but at the end of the day, both of our approaches get us the, end goal, so...
We are both alive in zombie apocalypse. That's what matters, right?
Exactly. So, we're both gaining materials and, meds and everything, and we're both keeping our characters alive, and, we're playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, just in different styles, so.
Yeah, sure.
But number 10 is the one I switched out. This is our Jug of Pesticide now, which gives you the plus 50% meds boost. This was the mini bar, but as I kind of said when we were talking about it back when we were talking about the lounge boost, getting rid of that ethanol, like, the more I thought about it, losing that ethanol just really kind of, made me sick a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to lose that ethanol.
So let me get it straight. It's nice to have and boost and everything, but then you just thought like, wait, what? It takes away my stuff? It takes my ethanol? No, that can't happen, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I'm like, why do I want to use ethanol to boost my morale? I want to use my ethanol to make some whiskey that I can sell. Like,
yeah. So I understand it correctly. Good.
So yeah, I definitely had to take that out of the list. So Jug of Pesticide, I think, is a much better one to put there. So Jug of Pesticide it is.
Yeah, and just extra point to add here. When we just acknowledge that minibar would take away ethanol, that take away whiskey, which takes away extra influence that you can get, like selling that off.
Right.
And now exchanging to this extra meds, what we are getting is 4.5 meds to the hydroponics, which 2 are taken away to the infirmary, and 2.5 are stored every day without any extra bonus, which then gives us nice ability to have this bulk cure, right?
Definitely. I
And
love the bulk here.
which obviously then is sold for influence. So we are exchanging lost influence to gaining even more influence. Am I right?
Agreed. And that's what I like. So I like getting some more influence, and I don't like losing stuff. So
all aboard. We are all agreed on this one. Good one.
Exactly. But number 9 was kind of the same sentiment as some of the ones before. Number 9 is my all-in-one workout system. So again, I love that it gives me the stamina I love, but I hate that it's in the fighting gym. So I wish I could just take this effect and put it on something else. Like if I could take this effect and somehow put it in my still, like, people are working out when they're making some whiskey. Hey.
Gotcha there. Yeah. Fully understandable.
Which I hope that they actually allow that in the future. Like, there's some facilities that don't allow mods. I hope like the still in the future is allowed to have mods, and like I think there's some other ones that don't allow mods too. So I hope like all the facilities allow mods in the future.
Yeah, that's kind of frustrating, and yeah, would love to see that.
But going on to number 8, we have the food dehydrator, which goes in your kitchen, and we kind of talked about this one before. Like that extra 10 food boost, especially being in the kitchen, like it's a nice spot for it, I think, because I like having that extra food available. And like we talked about before, you can use this food to make ethanol, and you can actually just use the ethanol to make whiskey. So basically it breaks down to I want to make more whiskey.
And just the people don't get confused when you are mentioning 10 extra food. No one is giving you food. It gives you room for food. You get to get those food anyway. So as I mentioned before, my problem with extra storage is but sure, go ahead with your updated kitchen.
No, I mean, and which with the whiskey, like we said, you can sell that for influence. That's why I love it so much. So basically, the reason why I like the food dehydrator is just for mainly that purpose, because it gives you the extra 10 food storage, so you can have 10 more food that you can use to, hopefully get some more whiskey to sell.
Yeah, but let me ask you a funny question. You see how that goes against, like, contradicts each other. If you are making whiskey, which means you have a still, which means you are burning down food. So actually I would find you running low on food, which means there's no extra need for storage. If you don't have a still, then the food is accumulated, and then I see how this storage would benefit. So if you're going on a whiskey challenge, let's call it, then you see my question here, like.
No, I do, which, like, my point with that is I'm not always needing to use the food to make whiskey, because if I already found a bunch, which a lot of times I find a bunch in the world, I don't need to do that. So I can, build up a bunch of storage, and then when I run out, that's when I use it. So is when I run out.
That storage that you can use your cars for. Okay, I get it. No, I'm messing. All good.
Well, anyways.
Point 7, right?
Number 7 is the pill press, which is in the infirmary. And this is, when I made my list, I didn't realize that the strong painkillers actually did cost 4 beforehand. So I actually, value this one even more so now. But this is the one that brings your painkiller cost down to 1. So you basically pay 1 med, and you can make, either strong painkillers, weak painkillers, or whatever kind of painkillers you want. So I would honestly consider bumping this up a little bit, but I just wouldn't really know what I want to move down, because I like the ones above it a lot too. So basically 1 through 7 are like my top 7 for sure, that like these are the 7 that I really love using. So these are the the 7 that are hard for me to interchange, and it would be hard for me to move this up and put something else down because I love these top 7 a lot. But Pill Press is my number 7.
Yeah, I would definitely go along with this because I think the top is really similar. I have a different order and something that's but the rest of the list is I'm pretty fine with this, and I see how this Pill Press would potentially go up, but hardly, because everything else is also good.
Right, yes, it's kind of hard for me. It's like, well, what do I move down though? Because I mean, you can see which ones are above my list right now. So
yeah, true.
But number 6, I have the game console, which goes in your lounge, and the reason why I love the game console so much is because it gives you the morale boost for so long. Like a lot of these things that give you a morale boost, it's like, oh, here's a morale boost for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. The game console gives you 15 morale for an hour, and I just love that because that's a huge amount of morale to give you for a whole hour. So if your community is really struggling with morale, you can, play some video games and then you get 15 morale for a whole hour. And that actually gives you enough time to, get things set up in your base and, correct things in your community.
Just one thing I wanted to add. That was really, really good suggestion, not only in the video game. For morale, it's really good to just go and play video games in general.
It is. I mean, it's almost like we did this before the podcast.
Am I right? Yeah. So and thank you for bringing this game console. I remember I have it in one playthrough, but now I insert it in my list as well. So
I think it's definitely handy. So I mean. And for me, I always use a lounge because I love having the lounge for extra morale. So if I'm already using the lounge anyways, like the games console is the way to go in the lounge.
Yeah, lounge is way to go. Definitely.
But number 5, also a morale boost, is the white noise machine, which we talked about how good this is. And basically it's like 10 free morale that you don't even have to, do anything to get, because like we talked about the beds, you only have 2 choices for the beds. One of them gives you 3 and one of them gives you 10 morale. So obviously you're going to pick the 10 if you have the choice. So there's really no choice involved here. You just, get 10 free morale. So who doesn't want 10 free morale?
And point you mentioned here is that's why our list also is a bit different, is if you have beds, then this mod is really valuable. But in most cases I've found I'm building base with beds and outposts and the same container fort you are having, problematic
right, exactly.
to install this.
Yes, because like the container fort, you can't do it, and if all your beds are an outpost, like you just mentioned, then you can't install this because you don't have any beds actually at your base. So it just really depends on what kind of base you have.
Yep.
But number 4, I have the rifle ammo press, which goes in your workshop, and this is kind of more of a personal one. I mean, I definitely understand, some people probably wouldn't have this high, but for me personally, I have it this high because I go through a ton of 5.56 and 7.62 ammo, and for me, I like to use a lot of rifles. So for me personally, I just like having that available to always make more ammo because this game you're always going to need more ammo to just kill some more zombies, and that's what the game's about, is killing zombies. So like for me, this is a great thing for long term because long term there's so many great guns in the game that are rifles that you want to make more ammo for those. So for my personal taste, I like making more rifle ammo.
Okay, cool. Tell me when I can jump in and turn everything around here. Yeah, we just a little bit discussed also before, and if any of you already seen my videos or my approach or playthrough, I have similar thing with parts and ethanol as you do. Like I like to have it a lot. And the same for me goes for bullets, and I found it insane how cost inefficient is those especially the 7.62 bullets to produce. That there's a video of me that had some attention also on YouTube, that when I came up with the idea that best gun in the game, it's actually like it's using 9mm handgun ammo, but it's a submachine gun, something. And the reason for that was that you can actually produce more ammo with less ammo supply spent, and the end result is if you are killing zombies in the head, it's the same amount. It's the same 1 bullet per head, and that's what it takes. So that's why I'm just jumping in here. That's already like how this rifle ammo press can be that high in the list. Because in my list I have 2 of them. I have 2. It's 14 and 15, basically the last positions I have for ammo presses, and still I have handgun ammo over the rifle ammo, because that is way more efficient to craft ammos. For me. Whew, I have to jump in, sorry.
And I definitely understand that. I mean, like I said, it's just more of a personal thing for me with that, because I don't like to use the handguns that often. So for me, like, probably doesn't technically count as a handgun, but probably my favorite, that's close enough to a handgun is the 45 cal RTX Piranha, which I don't think really technically counts as a handgun, but that's probably my closest thing to a handgun that I like. So,
and I think that's the one I'm referring to. Those, trust me, I'm handguns. I only like those where you have 20 bullets in it, which is sometimes more than some other rifles, actually. But I'm referring to the exact same submachine guns you're mentioning, where it's 30 bullets. And let me ask you just one question. If you're using rifles, are you using full auto or single shot?
Usually single shots.
So it's like popping, right?
Yeah.
So there's no actual difference between having rifle, because then you can switch it on and off, or pistol, or actually any kind of firearm that you have to pop every shot, right?
Right. It's just more of a personal, look of it. I like, using the rifle more. So.
Now we are getting to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
No, trust me. Running around in the base when this weapon is hanging besides your backpack, it's quite amazing if you have some cool silencer or something.
Exactly.
It's red or something. Okay. Got your point, fully defended. I'm on it.
I'm glad you see it now, at least. So it's more the aesthetic appeal to me. So I just like the aesthetics of it. But
yeah, and the cost is you have to have rifle ammo press, obviously.
Exactly, which is why it's number 4 for me. So
all good. Let's continue with the list.
But number 3 for me, I mentioned how I like to hoard parts a lot, and what better way to hoard parts than to use the CNC mill. So CNC mill is my number 3, which is in your workshop, and like we already discussed earlier, you use 3 materials and make 90 parts for that. So it's a great way to get rid of extra materials you have, and I'm sure you agree in this game, you find a lot of materials in the world, and this is a great way to use them.
Yeah, that's the best way how to get parts, and I definitely have this same mod. A little bit less, but that's another reason why I have it in a worst place. But yes, it's really highly suggested mod.
Definitely. And moving on to number 2, I mean, I think this one would be high on anyone's list pretty much. It's the network signal booster, which is in your command center. I mean, I think you pretty much have to have this one 5, because having 2 extra outposts, like, that's huge, and that really changes the game for you. So I think this one has to be high on pretty much any list. So for me, it's number 2.
Yep, agreed.
And then last but not least, my number 1, I'm sure the listeners can probably tell what it is based on, the podcast so far, but for me, it's got to be the compost bin, which is, in your garden, farm, or hydroponics. And we already discussed in length, how our style's different a little bit. And for my style, I mean, I always, remember to hit the button, because for me, I always have like other things I'm doing as well. I'm using my still to make whiskey. I'm using like my game console in my lounge. So if I'm already doing all those things anyways, I always remember to use my compost bin. So for me, it's not really a second thought to actually use it. I just automatically go, okay, now I got to use my compost bin. I got to use my game console. I just do it all in one step. And for me, the compost bin is amazing because it gives you 100% extra yield, and it just doubles your production. So it's really nice in that way.
Yep, agreed on that one. That's the first spot is the same as in my list.
All right, so I think we agreed on most things. I think we have a little bit different style in some situations, but
yeah. Actually, I think I can, if I may, I'll run way faster because most of the things will be repeating. But
Yeah, definitely go for it.
and the reason is simple. My approach was different. It's like when you first time start a game or something, or second playthrough or third, there's a yeah, as I explained, if you have all the mods in front of you, like trader is trading, you need to understand which to buy instead of which. Like that was my approach. Like in total, in despite everything, that's mostly used, mostly needed, and everything. So without any delay, it's quite simple. My first 3 points are going to uh, compost bin, fertilizer, and pesticide. And the reason is simple. The compost, this compost bin is giving the most food, and food is really crucial from the beginning of the game.
Agreed.
If you don't have that, you just buy a fertilizer instead. That's 0.5 difference in total outcome. And med is number 2, which is basically two crucial supplies that you definitely need. And if you don't have them, people will lose morale, right?
Right, and your meds are really important. I mean, that's probably the best way to get meds, unless you're using like someone with lycanology, because that's the only other way to get meds, like, super efficiently.
Yeah, and this lycanology book costs quite a lot, so
It does.
instead just getting this stuff, and that's how to go. And yeah, next I have this network signal booster. Why it's not so much in the top? Because actually you need to fill out 4 slots if you have upgraded command center. So it's not something you are looking for at the beginning. So there's no point of having those extra
Right,
empty
it's more of an
slots
end game
hanging
thing.
there, right? It's
Yeah.
after some while. And then I have a white noise generator and gain console. And reason why it's so high, it's quite simple. As I explained, it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost any food, any fuel, any, well, it needs electricity, right? But it's still it's the uh, passive boost that you get, you install and you forget about it, and you benefit from the beginning once you install until the end of the game. That's
Right.
why my approach was like, if you see that, you know that's very valuable. And
And it's also not
then
making noise too, which definitely helps out for, having zombies attack you.
yep, and with both of those, you have 25 morale, which is quite high actually if you manage to have it close to the beginning. So yeah, then next 2 points I have CNC mill and this salvage furnace, which obviously you need to switch in between because at the beginning when you building up the base, you need materials, so you will not be making parts from them. So that's where you need to dismantle those weapon parts, find those things when scavenging, and that's where you get parts. And at the beginning, when you need to craft silencers and repair weapons, trust me, I find myself kind of understanding how parts are important. So that's why those two are in the 8 and 9, no, 7 and 8 list. And then the next 2 parts I have this casting making kit and sanitizing machine, which both of them I find quite valuable, as one without any infirmary update is removing injuries at the beginning, and also sanitizing when you have small community. You take 2 community members out, you come back, both of them are hit, health goes back from the infirmary, but you need, how to say, the cycle in your community, and often you find that the health is back, but the infection is still there. So this is kind of cool to get rid of that. Yeah, that's why it's quite in my list.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, like we talked about a little bit earlier, the sanitizing machine, I wouldn't have in there personally, just because for me, like, I don't need the sanitizing machine because I don't really, have to worry about infection. But like you said, your list is more for like, the newer player or the player that is just jumping in more. So I would agree that the sanitizing machine is more important, early on. But I think, later in your playthroughs, it's not as important because your community is already established and they're already better equipped to handle things.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's for sure. And next two things, I'm just thinking I could combine all the infirmary stuff. I have actually 3 meds and 3 mods from infirmary, and I have 11th position slow cooker, and I explained the reason is you don't need cooking skill for this to have extra 10 morale boost, which is quite high at the beginning, which might break to the next bonus points, not points, but how to call them, boost.
Definitely.
The experience and everything, it's quite cool. And then I have this pill press, and why pill press is so low actually is quite simple. If you somehow manage to not use your painkillers and bandages and everything, that was one of my tips and tricks that I suggested. If you have community members like around 6, you can take 2 out, then whenever they are, let's call them damaged, just place back in the house, in the base, and take next 2 ones and just rotate around. And once you come back, they are fully healed. So basically you have spent none of the supplies from your locker. So that's the reason. For me personally, this pill press only helped out to max chemist skill and medical skill. That's the only reason, and that's why I actually installed it and used it quite late in the game, I'd say. But yeah, and last 3 points are kind of useless. Just saying, sorry, but I have ammo press handgun. As I explained, I'm a big fan of small caliber weapons because it's cheaper to produce, so you can make more out of it.
Makes sense.
And this next one would be rifle. Those are actually 2 ammo types I'm using because shotgun is loud. Revolvers can't install suppressors, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe they can anyways.
Yeah, and obviously the grenade launcher is also loud. And yeah, the last, this sniper rifle, really powerful, but really not supply efficient. So yeah, for me it's only handgun and rifle ammo presses that you need to look after to have them. But if you don't have them, you can play, I believe, all the game through, because you can check my videos how you can deal with. Okay, ferals are a big problem, but juggernauts are easy, the plague hearts are easy. You can basically get through the game without any particular need for ammo, in my opinion. I know that you have in 4th position rifle ammo press. And yeah, last but not least, and actually this list is the least favorite, but I'm installing it whenever I have open spot, and that's a shelving that gives you 2 extra supply slots for every supply you have. And the reason is quite simple. It's basic math that if you have a freezer or ammo or something, it gives you 5 bonus spots. And here you have 2, but you have to multiply it by 5 different supplies, which is way 2 more, twice as valuable as any particular specific supply storage room, in my opinion.
No, I definitely agree with a lot of your points. I mean, I think the biggest one that I don't like as much is when I spoke up on is the sanitizing machine, but I think the rest of them, I definitely understand where you're going with your list, and I think it's just, a little bit of difference of play style for the most part, because...
No, let me correct myself here. This sanitizing machine I would suggest to get, because no one likes to get to see their people bitten and then dying, and I think it's kind of game changing when your community is infected and it's all bad, and some players might, and myself, I would feel bad for that. But I'm, as a kind of advanced gamer, experienced, my suggestion, and that's one of my suggestions when there was discussion about what to change in the game, I asked to be it more difficult, because this this infection. Actually, if you play if you manage the game, you don't get infected too much. This infection doesn't actually come up as a problem. And only a week ago, as I mentioned, when this patch came out, I used 2 cures for curing my community members, and it was only time when I used in the last 200 hours playthrough. It's easy to manage without any disinfection at all. So I would suggest them to get, I don't know, more aggressive than you, I don't know.
I can see. I mean, like, if they do up the difficulty, then it will have a lot more use, because right now the difficulty isn't, high enough where you're going to have to get infected too much if you are experienced at the game. But I would definitely see the sanitized machine as, being very useful if the difficulty does increase.
Oh yeah. That's end of my list. That's basically similar as yours, just different approach. And that's
I think that's we have 2 really good lists. I think. I mean, we just had a couple of minor differences. For the most part, we agreed on most of the best mods. I mean, we just had a couple of different points of contention, but I think we had explained why we had those. So
yeah, I think we covered it quite well.
So hopefully everyone liked this podcast on facility mods. I think we went through them in detail like we both usually do, and I think you won't really have many questions about facility mods after this. But if you actually did have questions after this, then you can definitely feel free to contact either one of us. If people want to contact you, how can they do so, Mariss?
Definitely can find basically in any videos and commenting section. And I think it should be available also through the email. If you find the channel and then read about, there should be option to see my email. But I would not suggest go there. Just use comment section, because I'm checking, I'm reading, and not only me, but also there's a quite bunch of people that following me, and they have quite good experience as well. And if I'm not fast enough, someone else might already answer the question and give you heads up and give you all the information. It's amazing how, yes, it's great community.
Definitely. I mean, I might even comment in there myself, because I've commented on your YouTube videos before as well. So
yeah, that's for sure. And yeah, I have now really huge urge to make another video for a complete list of mods, because of thanks to this podcast that actually brought all the attention to the mods I missed so far. So yeah,
well, I'm glad I could do that for you. I mean, I think it was a great discussion, and I definitely appreciate you coming on. I mean, I think it's definitely going to help a lot of people out.
Thanks for having me. So whenever I can be in help, I'm there.
I appreciate that. But if people want to get in contact with me, then if you don't know how to do so by now, you can contact me on Twitter at Blaise XPerience, which is capital BLAISE, capital XPerience. And my gamer tag is the same exact thing, Blaise XPerience. If you want to contact me via email, you can do so, theblaisexperience@gmail.com. And I will have our Discord link in the show notes. So if you want to contact me on Discord and jump in and chat with me there, we have a growing community there. So you can definitely come and chat with all of us. And if you want to find the podcast and you don't know how to do so yet, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Acast, Blueberry, Podbean, Radio Public, and many more directories. So just check one of those directories and, definitely leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so, because those reviews help us grow and help more people find the podcast. And I will mention quickly again, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, Tuesday and Friday, after you're hearing this, I will be back to my regular schedule for streaming. So you can be sure to see me streaming 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time the week after you're hearing this. And my mixer is mixer.com/Blaise XPerience. So, pretty easy, kind of keeping with the theme there. But I will also put in the show notes a link to Mariss's YouTube, so you can definitely check out his YouTube, and I would definitely suggest you do too, because he has some great videos, and he's going to have more coming up. So definitely support him and go subscribe to him as well.
Oh, such a nice note to end this podcast here. Yeah, and definitely I will I will brought over the community from YouTube to your podcast, because I see you are going even deeper and getting everything done perfectly. So I see how this all goes together very well. Nicely done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, you can even see my outline. My outline is pretty detailed too. So
That's right.
But thank you again for coming on, Mariss. I really appreciate it. And, I definitely hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having. And yeah, looking forward to do it for more.
And I'll definitely look out for your videos, and I'll definitely look for the facility mods one in particular.
Okay, cool.
But thank you also to the listeners for listening. I really appreciate you guys listening. It means a lot to me that you come back and listen to every podcast. So I definitely appreciate you listening. So thank you once again for visiting the Blaise XPerience.